When you picture the Vietnam War, what comes to mind? Is it the dense, humid jungle, soldiers navigating murky rice paddies, or the unmistakable sound of helicopters slicing through the air? While these images are iconic, there's another, equally crucial battlefield that's often overlooked: the waters of Vietnam. From the deep blue of the South China Sea to the muddy, twisting rivers of the Mekong Delta, the U.S. Navy played a powerful and decisive role. Today, we're diving deep into the incredible story of the warships that defined America's naval effort in Vietnam. Let's start with the giants of the sea, the aircraft carriers. These were more than just ships. They were floating cities of steel and air power, allowing the U.S. to project force hundreds of miles inland without needing vulnerable land bases. Legendary carriers like the USS Enterprise, the USS Coral Sea, and the USS Kitty Hawk formed the very backbone of the air war. Day and night, their decks were a whirlwind of activity, launching waves of fighter jets and attack aircraft. These planes struck strategic targets across North Vietnam bridges, railways, supply depots, and industrial sites. The carrier air wings were a stunning display of technological might, proving that naval aviation could dominate a conflict far from any coastline. These ships were the workhorses of the fleet, providing immense firepower and tactical flexibility. Heavy cruisers like the USS Boston and the USS Newport News unleashed devastating bombardments on coastal enemy positions, paving the way for ground troops. Their massive guns could pound fortifications into dust. Meanwhile, destroyers served a dual purpose. They were the vigilant guardians of the carrier groups, protecting them from air and submarine threats. But they also sailed close to shore, using their own guns to support Marines and soldiers locked in firefights. And of course, we can't talk about destroyers without mentioning the USS Maddox and the USS Turner Joy. Their 1964 encounter with North Vietnamese torpedo boats in the Gulf of Tonkin became one of the most pivotal moments of the entire conflict, leading to a dramatic escalation of American involvement. These two ships, simply by being on patrol, were thrust into the center of a historical turning point. While the big ships commanded the open seas, the war in Vietnam presented a unique and dangerous challenge. The rivers, the sprawling labyrinthine network of the Mekong Delta, was a vital artery for the Viet Cong, used to move troops, weapons, and supplies. The most famous of these were the patrol boat, river, or PBRs. Life on a river patrol boat was incredibly dangerous. The crews faced constant threats from shoreline ambushes, hidden mines, and rocket-propelled grenades. Ships like the PBR Mk2 weren't just vessels, they were lifelines, taking the fight to the enemy in a place they thought was safe. Another critical naval mission was amphibious warfare. Getting troops and equipment ashore quickly and efficiently was essential. This is where ships like landing ship tanks, or LSTs, and amphibious assault ships came into play. Vessels like the USS Iwo Jima and the USS Tripoli were pioneers of a new doctrine called vertical envelopment. Instead of a traditional beach landing, these ships carried fleets of helicopters that could lift entire battalions of Marines and their equipment, leapfrogging over enemy defenses to strike deep behind the lines. This mobility was a game-changer, especially in battles like the fight for Hue City, where the ability to rapidly deploy forces was crucial to turning the tide. Behind every combat ship, there's a fleet of unsung heroes that keeps the war machine running. Naval operations in Vietnam were no different. An enormous logistical train of support ships worked tirelessly, often just over the horizon, to keep the fleet in the fight. Repair vessels acted as floating workshops, fixing battle damage and mechanical failures far from home. Vessels like the USS Sanctuary and the USS Repose were state-of-the-art floating hospitals. For countless soldiers, sailors, and Marines, the sight of one of these hospital ships meant a second chance at life. The lessons learned in Vietnam profoundly shaped the U.S. Navy for decades to come. The experience in riverine warfare, the perfection of carrier-based air power, and the evolution of amphibious assault tactics all influenced naval strategy in later conflicts, from the Persian Gulf to the modern era. The ships of the Vietnam War were more than just steel and machinery. They were platforms of innovation, instruments of national policy, and the homes of sailors who displayed extraordinary bravery in one of history's most complex and challenging wars. Their legacy is etched into the very fabric of naval history. Thanks for watching. If you found this deep dive into naval history interesting, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Let us know in the comments which of these incredible ships you'd like to learn more about next. See you in the next video.